that gap.
Oh, geez, good. Into the pits, the race leader, bike 7. Alan Blanco getting on the bike, Jeff French getting off it. Watches on. No tyre changes this time. This has got to be a quick one. And it's moving in just over 10 seconds. What an incredible pit stop.
But the new race leader is bike 5. He's gone through. So that was enough to let Pete Byers into the lead. This bike now is second. And the gap back to Johnson in third, already charging faster than the original rider on it, Jeff French, will now be in the vicinity of 20 seconds. We'll get a measure on it in just a moment. It's going to take Blanco, tall boy from Sydney, a few laps to settle into the saddle and get onto the really quick pace.
1 hour 24 minutes remaining, and Alan Blanco has now had his final pit stop, so the Mattich team hopes now rest entirely with him. That's the gap between third and fourth positions. Wayne Gardner is really moving his bike, and Andrew Johnson may not have an answer for it. Both of them only 18 seconds behind Alan Blanco in second place, who in turn is only 14.82 seconds behind the race leader, John Pace and Pete Byers. 17 seconds is the gap now back to second place. And these two riders both carving back second place, but look at Gardner go on Johnson. Gardner is eyeing after a season in Europe, and is he riding this bike well? Andrew Johnson is probably our best local touring bike rider, and just look at Wayne Gardner, the young boy from Wollongong, haul him in. Both on equally matched machines. Third gear through this section of track, then hard on the stoppers. And Gardner just a bit under brakes there. Yes, he's doing it. Both of these riders do need a final pit stop. The only man in the top four, and only 4 on 1 lap, not to need a pit stop is Alan Blanco in second position. Gardner's lap time at this stage of the race, 57.37. Now the question remains, will these two become... And there it goes, Wayne Gardner straight through him. Under brakes. Looks behind, can't find him anywhere. And that just came so unexpectedly. Andrew Johnson, I think, would be as amazed as anyone else that Wayne Gardner managed to round him up so easily. 15.98 seconds now, the gap back to third place from second, Alan Blanco. And now with the clear track in front of him, I was concerned then that Wayne Gardner might be tied up in a dice with Andrew Johnson, and the two of them would slow themselves down and not be able to catch up with second place. But Gardner now in the lead on Johnson, and he's got nothing now to stop him getting up onto Alan Blanco. Gardner took his or regained the bike at the 4 hours and 5 minute mark, so he'll need his pit stop within perhaps only a half to a quarter of an hour from the finish of the race, which means that he may well elect to stay on the bike for the final stages. Andrew Johnson due to give his bike over, not that far off it either towards the end of the race, and whether he'll hand over to Greg Pretty still remains to be seen. Never has there been a closer Castrol 6 hour or a faster Castrol 6 hour than right now. At lap 300, 4 hours and 56 minutes gone in the race. Bike 5, Pete Byers and John Pace lead by just 17.39 seconds from bike 7, this bike ridden by Alan Blanco. He, however, is losing a lot of ground. He's down to only 5.48 seconds ahead of bike 2, Wayne Gardner on another Honda 1100, and then in 4th position, Andrew Johnson on the other Honda, the only people on 300 laps. Then comes bike 1, that's the Neville Hiscock Rod Gray Suzuki 1100, followed by bike 14, that's the Rob Phillips Mike Cole Suzuki 1100. But the big question now is, can bike 7, ridden by Alan Blanco, which is the only bike of the leaders to have had its final pit stop, hold out this determined challenge that's being thrown out by Wayne Gardner? Let's go to the pits and Dennis Neal.
Talking to Chris Mattich, the team manager of bike number 7, Jeffrey French. Who's on board the bike at the moment? Alan Blanco's on the bike. We believe bike 2 and bike 3 are catching you and have closed to within 5 seconds. They're gaining by around about a second a lap.
That's right, they're just about on our tail now, but both of them have to make pit stops.
Your bike doesn't have to stop again?
We don't have to stop again.
Right,
so it's going to be close. The race has still got an hour to go, but that's the way we want it to be at the moment.
Had to love start the bike, as you could see there, but that was a particularly quick pit stop for John Pace, and now we've got the rocket out on the bike. John Pace has dropped to 4th position with that pit stop, which is about what we'd expect to have happen, but the real thing that we've now got to work out is how far behind the Alan Blanco Team Mattich Honda he is. Because these two bikes now, Blanco and bike 5, have both completed their last pit stop. So these are the two rockets going to the finish. And Pace is the man who really wants to win the Castrol 6 hour. We yet await to see Andrew Johnson take his final pit stop and also to see Wayne Gardner take his.
And with the new race lead of Jeff French, Alan Blanco, second place, Gardner charging on bike number 2, the gap. And the gap first to second is now down to 1.3 seconds. Sorry, 2.9 seconds between the lead bike now, number 7, Jeff French, Alan Blanco actually riding bike 7, and the rider on bike 2 in second place, Wayne Gardner. There's the race leader.
He'll be trying everything he knows to regain.
And the blue white leathers you saw just behind were second place chasing him. Kilometre an hour corner, that right-hander. 4th gear.
Goes he so sideways and wrestles the bike. Have you ever seen a save like it?
Well, how did he stay on it? And you can't stay on it, is what you'd have said. To have a bike that sideways, he was doing 170 kilometres an hour. Just think about it.
It hasn't stopped Gardner. He's still going for it. Here is the race for the lead in the Castrol 6 hour at the 5 hour and 2 minute mark. In the lead, Alan Blanco, bike 7, right behind him, Wayne Gardner. Gardner still to have one final pit stop, so he must get through Blanco and open himself a buffer to be able to take that pit stop. There he goes. New leader, Wayne Gardner, into the lead. And Blanco had no answer to that. He's riding to team orders. He knows that there's a pit stop on Wayne Gardner, but I just wonder, with the immense riding ability of Wayne Gardner and indeed of the other riders contesting outright at this stage, just how slowly Alan Blanco can afford to win by.
Yes, so he's getting some enormous competition from riders who are quicker and far more experienced than he, and whether he can do the pace and whether he can concentrate hard enough and be error-free will remain to be seen. You can see the sort of problems that Gardner can get himself out of. Quite incredible. On that lap when he had that horrific slide, he lost only 0.4 of a second on the lap in the gap between himself and Blanco, and just pressed on, and a lap and a half later took him.